Hey amazing hackers, I'm TORHAT from HM Cyber Academy. We're gonna continue with our incredible web hacking series. Here, you're gonna learn hacking or you'll die trying. So let's get started. Previously, we have done Natas 22. So this is the password for Natas 23. Okay, Natas 23 and enter. Looks like we have something and we need to enter something to get the login. Okay, so let's type ASDF. It says wrong. Okay, and here as you can see we have something here, right? So this is the parameter. So let's try to use burp to fuzz this parameter. Okay, so here we have this parameter, right? So send it to intruder. So previously, as you have already seen, that we usually fuzz this parameter and this parameter because we don't know this parameter previously, but we do know this parameter right now. It is PASSWD. So we don't need to fuzz this one, we'll just fuzz this one. Okay, so we need to clear everything, add this, and in the payload section you need to use simple list, and you can add values to it. Okay, form field values, right? So let's start and see what happens. Did we get anything different? Nothing. Even the status code, nothing. Okay, so we'll try to fuzz in a different way. Okay, so let's go to the positions and let's try to add some text here and add that text to the parameters. Okay, now this time let this be fixed. Okay, so since we already know the parameter, so what we can do is we can add special characters here. Okay, so we're not adding something to the parameter, we are just using special characters. So where do we find the special characters? Usually we have seclists here. As you already know, we have already worked with the first DB. Okay, so this time let's work with special characters. Those are at the bottom here, special characters. Okay, all these are special characters. So just copy from here, go to the payload section and clear everything and paste. Now this one looks like it didn't copy properly. Okay, now it is copied. Paste. Yeah, right. So let's start the attack. Did we get anything different? No. So let's try to double this payloads right now. Okay, so how do we do that? So we add the same thing. Okay, Control C and Control V. So we are adding double payloads. So when we add double payloads, what is going to happen is these are going to be brute force. Okay, so let's say we have a greater than symbol and some other symbol, so that's going to cause some crashes. Okay, making the application break. Okay, so that's the reason why we keep a double parameter here. So let's use cluster bomb, and for the payload section, for the first one it is already defined, and for the second one we need to define the same thing. So let's copy this, paste it. Okay, so we have 1000 requests. Okay, all right, let's see what happens. The scan is finished. Okay, let's try to sort it based on length. Okay, so we have a different kind of response, a different length of the response. Okay, here, so let's see what the response is. So it is showing a warning message. Interesting. So let's see. Okay, we have this kind of request. Okay, so the left bracket and right bracket, so this request, let's see this in the browser. Okay, show response in browser, copy, and okay, so this is the warning message that we got. So it is saying str, this function is being used. Okay, so let's copy this and let's use str and hit enter. We have few references of C++, but as you know, we don't use C++ that often in web application. Mostly we use PHP. Okay, so we have PHP, so let's use PHP. Okay, so PHP, right? We have str for PHP. So what does this function actually does? Okay, so it is going to check for first occurrence of the string. Okay, so what it is trying to do is, it is, let's say we have some numbers, some special characters, or what can we say, some values, we don't know. But if there is a string, if it's something detected as a string, okay, string is something that we consider as a literal value. This whole thing can be a string, but in PHP everything is based on context. Okay, so if it wants to read it as a number, it will read it as a number. If it want to read it as a string, it will read it as a string. So this type of property is called type juggling. Okay, so if we are using something called string, so what's going to happen is, it is going to check for first occurrence of the string, and it is going to return back that part only. Okay, for this string. So in this case, if we have something like str, and let's say these are not string. Okay, so in this case the return value might be something like ASDFO. The return value will be something like this, considering that these are not string. Okay, so that's how this str will work. Okay, so let's see the full response. Okay, so we have str expected parameter 1. So this parameter must be a string. Okay, so we are saying array given in the index.php. Okay, so we gave something called an array. Okay, so if you see burp suite, you will see that in the request we have an array kind of thing, something like this. Okay, so usually we define arrays like this, right? So the server expected a string, but we gave something in the form of an array. Okay, so it just got confused and then throw this error. So we know one of the function that is being used. So in real world pen test, we just fuzz everything. Okay, since we got this and we know that str being used, so we will remove this part actually. So I'll just show you in the intruder. So we are going to remove this, and we are going to fuzz this using two values. Let's say we have to fuzz something like this, and the first one will be something like special characters or numbers or anything like that, and the second string must be a string, and this should be something like a password. Okay, because it is expecting a password. So this is going to be a special character or a number, and this is going to be some string, some password list or word list. Okay, so we use the same thing, cluster bomb, but this time we use something like we use special characters in the first one and numbers in the first one, but in the second one we use word list like rocku.txt. That's going to be a huge one, right? So since this is a CTF, let's go with what we have here. Okay, source code. So this CTF wants something specific that we want to do. Okay, so let's go here. So as you can see, this is the whole PHP code. So in this PHP code, it is going to check if there is a password parameter in the request. So this one, okay, in the request, it is going to check for password parameter, and once it is confirmed, then it is going to, in the next line, we have str function. So this function is going to check, so the value of this password parameter in the request, which is this one, is going to be compared with I love you. And since we are using string function, it is only going to check the first occurrence, okay, so the first occurrence of this string, and it is going to compare it with I love you. Okay, so you can have anything in the beginning, okay, so anything in the beginning, but the first occurrence of this has to be I love you. So I hope you get it. Right, let's move on. And the second one, and it is saying, and the output of this password, which means this whole thing, should be greater than 10. Okay, so it is checking the value. Okay, so it is the value of this should be greater than 10. So it is not the length. They did not mention anything like length of something or something like that. So they just said the value of this should be greater than 10. So how is it possible? Like here we are looking at string, and here we are looking at something similar to an integer. We need to enter this password parameter in such a way that it is both integer and a string which contains I love you. So let's make the notes. So we need to create a string, okay, and that string should contain I love you as first occurrence, okay, and it also has to be an integer. So what we are asking this to do is act both like a string and integer greater than 10. This is interesting. So now it has to juggle between two types, okay. In the first sentence, it has to think of it as an string, and then second, it has to act like integer. So it has to juggle the types, okay. So in PHP, we have PHP type juggling. So this is the type juggling, and let's go to juggling. I just searched for juggling here, and then I came to the third occurrence of it, which they gave few examples, okay. So in the first example, they said two cats, okay. So this is definitely a string because it is enclosed between double quotes, and they are asking echo get type, okay, what is the type of this count. So this obviously returns a string, right? But when we are comparing it with some other type, let's see what happens, okay. So let's go to onlinephp.io. So this is kind of a PHP sandbox, okay, so you can write whatever you want. So let's copy this. So this is the PHP code, and let's see. So now echo get type, okay, right. So let's run this, and in the bottom we got string, okay. So next what we need to do is let's use a if condition and try to compare it with if count $count is greater than 1, okay. We are comparing it with integer, okay. So let's say we are enclosing with brackets, and let's give it a tab, okay. So try to understand this because we are comparing it with an integer, okay. This same string we are comparing it with an integer, okay. So let's see if it works, okay, and it is working, okay. So let's give it a different number. Okay, since we have 2 here, let's give it 3. Okay, let's see if it works. So it is not replying right now, so which means it is not working, which means this has to do something with it, right? So what's happening is, initially when it was enclosed between double quotes and it is being assigned to this variable, it is a string. Okay, but when it is comparing it with a number, it is being treated as a number. Okay, the first character is being taken as here. Okay, so this is the number which is there, that is being substituted here. So the number is being compared here. Okay, so not the whole text, only this first number. So when we use the same thing in our Natas 23, so what we can do is, we need to give something that is greater than 10 in the beginning. Okay, so let's say we have something like 11. Okay, and then, or you can say a 1 2 3. Okay, so a big number greater than 10. Okay, and then you can add the string which we required, so this one. So Control C, Control V. Now what's gonna happen is, this string is going to be treated as string here. Okay, and it is going to check the first occurrence, because we are using string, right? So it is going to check the first occurrence, which is this one, and it is going to compare it with I love you, and it is being satisfied. Okay, and when it comes here, it is going to be checked with the value. Okay, the value of this is 123. It is going to discard this string. Okay, only the value is being taken, as we have seen in the PHP sandbox. So this is like water. Okay, so if you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. If you put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. If you put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. So water can flow or it can crash. Okay, so this is something like that. Interesting, right? So this is how PHP type juggling works. So the same thing is going to happen. Okay, so let's see if our theory is correct. Okay, Control C, Control V, and login, and it works. And let's try to keep something like 09, and let's see what happens. Okay, and it says wrong. Okay, and let's keep 10, because it is saying greater than 10, right? So since it is not greater than 10, it should not come, right? So let's see. So it is saying wrong, but if you keep 11, I love you, then let's see what happens. You got the point, right? So this is called PHP type juggling. So you can juggle these values as many ways as you can. So you can find a ton of vulnerabilities in PHP type juggling. Okay, I hope you understand it. I'll see you guys in the next one.